and welcome back to the Creative Juggle Joy podcast. I'm here with my co-host Delores, and today we're diving into a crucial topic for any creative entrepreneur: mindset shifts for sustainable success. Whether you're just starting out or looking to level up your creative business, having the right mindset can make all the difference. We'll share our personal experiences, our struggles, and the strategies that have helped us along the way. So let's jump in, right? To kick things off, let's define what a growth mindset means to us. According to the Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck, a growth mindset is the belief that a person's capacities and talents can be improved over time. For me, having a growth mindset became essential when I had to pivot my handcrafted candle business. I remember being pregnant and dealing with severe heartburn and sickness, feeling like I was constantly fighting an uphill battle. I thought about how challenging it would be to manage a physical product business whilst caring for a newborn, especially with no support system nearby. The thought of giving up crossed my mind many times, especially when I heard people suggest I should just be a stay-at-home mum. But deep down, I knew that was not the life I wanted for myself or for my family. I wanted to show my son that pursuing your dreams is possible. No matter the challenges, I had to embrace the idea that it was okay to shift my focus and adapt my new circumstances. Delores, how would you describe a growth mindset, and why do you think it's important for creatives?
Well, first, you have to remember that everyone starts as a beginner. It's totally normal to struggle when you're first learning something new. I have in so many different cases. We've all been there, feeling awkward and unsure of ourselves. It's easy to compare ourselves to others and feel like we're falling behind, but don't let that ever get you down. Because a growth mindset means seeing challenges as chances to grow instead of things to avoid. It encourages us to step out of our comfort zones and face hurdles head on. So instead of fearing failure, think of it as a setback, or think of setbacks as opportunities to learn, just like how your muscles get stronger through workouts. For creatives, this mindset is so super important. Embracing challenges helps us to improve and build our confidence. Remember, progress takes time and every small step is valuable. If things start feeling overwhelming, try setting smaller, achievable goals. I like breaking my big tasks into little ones, and that way I can keep motivated and help myself notice progress along the way. So if you hit a challenge, remind yourself it's part of the growth journey, and be patient. Stay curious and enjoy the process. You will totally get there.
Thanks, Delores. Next, let's discuss limiting beliefs. I faced imposter syndrome, still do, feeling like I didn't know enough to teach or help others because I lacked formal education in marketing and business. Yes, I had courses under my belt, from marketing on social media to marketing traditionally to even graphic design. I've done website design, I've done all of that, but I still felt like I lacked education that somebody might see as something, credentials these days actually don't mean much. And that's what used to hold me back quite a lot, was I didn't do it in college, or I didn't go to university and had that as an education. And I used to think that that was important, whereas actually it's not important at all. You can totally get by on the experience that you've received in other places, and you can carry on learning through your life and pick up key skills and teach yourself how to do things that you need to create a creative business. Another belief that haunted me was whether my designs were truly good enough, or my art. I would look at a finished piece and think, would anyone really buy that? And it took a lot of inner work to remind myself that my creations actually had value. Perfectionism is something I've been stuck on a lot, and I still get stuck on it now. If I'm creating a PDF for my audience and it's a workbook, or even if it's a guide, and I'm packing a ton of information into it, and then I'm going, ooh, actually, that I could add that as well, or I feel like it's still lacking something. And then you end up with like this 50 to 100 page document, and you're thinking, no one's going to want that because it's too long. It's not enough to, it's too much to digest in one sitting. So then I have to go back to the drawing board and start again. And that is something that I'm probably always going to have, is that perfectionism, wanting to tweak, wanting to change things. Is it right? And I can spend hours tweaking projects. Sometimes I get stuck days doing it, but I have to consciously pull myself back and ask myself, can I really publish this as it is now? Is someone still going to find value the way it is? And if that's a yes, then I need to publish it and get it out there, because it's not helping anybody if I have got it on my hard drive and it's not out there and no one's actually getting that information or even appreciating the art or the beauty that I've created. And the same goes for anybody listening to this who is struggling with perfectionism or doubts whether your art is good enough or your creations are good enough. I'm telling you, they probably are, because someone will find some value in it, and you've always got to start off somewhere.
Yeah.
So, Delores, can you share your own experiences with limiting beliefs? How have you worked to overcome them?
Well, I've had the benefit of being able to work with so many people. So I have now a really broad amount of experience just helping people to get over those limiting beliefs. And one of the most important things is something that you just exemplified, and that's noticing and writing down your self-doubting thoughts. So you're noticing them. This is the most important thing, is just acknowledging them. So you do that as your first step. Next, what you should do, and I know you're already doing this, Kaylie, you just have to challenge those beliefs. You ask yourself if there's any real evidence behind them, or are you just assuming? So clarifying why they aren't true can really shift your perspective. Then try to find stories of others who faced similar fears and succeeded. This kind of helps you understand you're not alone and that success is possible. And I find that one of the best ways is to be in a group of other people, just like yourself, sharing these thoughts. And then just reframe all of those negative thoughts. So instead of saying, I'm not good enough, say, I am growing and improving every day. Just this little bit of a mind shift can really change how you see yourself. When negative thoughts come in, be kind to yourself. Remember that mistakes are part of learning. And the last thing, I think, is something that I waited way too long to do myself, and that was to surround myself with positivity. So I like connecting with inspiring people, both online or in person. I like having a supportive community, and I think that makes a big difference. And I think that if you find toxicity in your life or in your relationships of any kind, honestly, any kind, you need to make a break. Just stay committed to redefining your beliefs and finding your support systems. And then just embrace it. You're on a journey. You're more powerful than you think, and you just got to just keep pushing through. You've got this. I know you do.
Yes, I couldn't agree more with you, Delores. I've had my fair share of toxic relationships in the past, and it was freeing to let go. of some of them. Obviously, you can't let go of all of them, unfortunately, because sometimes even your inner circle can be toxic. And it's just about limiting how much you give them, how much of your time you give them. And I think that a lot of that's where my creativity came in, is it was a safe space for me to just express myself and able to just let my mind wander in creativity and see where it goes. And a community you can turn to is one of the best things you can do for yourself and help you through tough times as well. And creative communities are just a amazing place to go for inspiration and for help and support as well if you ever needed it. So now let's get into some practical strategies that have worked for us. So setting realistic goals has been transformative for me, but I also recognise that I need to be more consistent with my daily routines. When I manage to stick to my morning routines, drinking water, then my morning coffee, obviously coffee, which I never did before getting pregnant, just saying. After having my son, coffee was an essential part after about 3 weeks in. 2.5 hours sleep a night was not enough. So yeah, that has definitely become a routine for me. Reading affirmations, doing my gratitude journal, I feel more centered when I do them. But it can be a struggle with my son. Aston wakes up early, or I'm trying to catch up on work after he goes to bed. I've learned to set contingency plans, like keeping my journal in a place where I can grab it quickly when I do have time. Another thing that has helped me is keeping a bank of positivity I have received over the years. So this is a folder for positive audience feedback, a folder for screenshots of positive comments I've received, or even comments even messages I've screenshotted that family have sent me or friends have sent me. Business mentors have given positive feedback. And when I feel crappy and down, I will go to these folders and read all those positive things that have been said about me or my business, and this lifts me up and gives me that little boost I need to get myself through and get my head on straight. So, Delores, what strategies do you find effective for maintaining a positive mindset?
I find this fascinating, just talking about this, excuse me, because you and I actually do a lot of the same things. I definitely start my day off with that solid routine. I drink a huge, like a liter of water before I do anything, before even my coffee. And that really, I think, is the most important thing of all, is coffee. So I agree with you there. We have a new routine right now because we're now doing before and after school care for our grandson. So he's usually there. I'm still in my pajamas, and I remember this morning I got up and I basically just had one eye open when I came out of the bedroom and he laughed. But that's part of our morning routine now, is actually just spending some time with him before he goes to school. And it gives me actually a really happy feeling just spending that 15 or 20 minutes before his school bus arrives. And that's a really great way to start the day, personally, I think. But I do have a lot of the things that you do kind of tucked away in my back pocket too. I like in one of my calendars that I have, or my planner, every month has little positive phrases that I can read before I start my day, because I always have to look at my day as soon as I get into my studios. I have to look at, okay, what is actually happening today? And then I get that little boost of positive energy. So I think that's really a really great way for us to start our days. So a positive mindset, I think, gives me sort of like armor against negativity for the day. And I try to focus on all the things I'm grateful for. And I remind myself of how far I've come. So if I'm thinking, oh, geez, I didn't get this done, or I didn't get that done, I stop and just take a look around. And honestly, like, you wouldn't know it, but I am a very productive person. And all these piles of stuff that are around me represent all of the progress that I've made. So I think really we just have to remember that growth happens when we push through the really tough things. And let's just embrace that journey and celebrate every little win along the way.
I think it's important to find what works for you and be flexible when life gets busy, as everyone knows that life transitions through each stage, and whether you have kids or you don't have kids, there'll always be something that you're going through that keeps you busy. And if you don't set boundaries and set times for yourself and little routines that you can do, it can get super hard. So the key is to keep coming back to those practices that ground you. Life happens, especially as a parent. What about you, Delores? How do you adapt when things don't go as planned?
Yeah, I agree. And I know exactly what you're saying. Adapting when things go sideways is something that we all have to face at some point or another. For me at this point, I'm not juggling kids, so I can tackle challenges head on with a bit of extra time. I spend time, I like to do it at the end of the day, making a checklist. And of course, I love my sticky notes. They're almost like brainstorming buddies, but I like doing it at the end of the day so that when I come in the morning, I've got, 3 or 4 things that I can look at and go, okay, yeah, that's what I was going to do. So then I can get started right away. I do put a lot of things in my planner as well. And, I use Airtable for a lot of my organizational stuff. But sometimes what you really need is just sort of like if it's in the middle of the day and you're feeling that way, it's just to get that tiny little break, just something. And when it's nice weather, when it's summer, which right now we're still having a little bit of it, I like going outside, just watering my plants or just sitting and soaking up the sun. I might take my phone and read my messages, but do it in a really nice spot where there's a lot of sun and the birds are singing and all that kind of stuff. And I think it just helps me to recenter and clear my mind. And, I totally agree, Kaylee. We have to be flexible, especially when we're working for ourselves. So, we have to shift our perspective sometimes and it'll open up new paths and solutions. I know that if things don't go as planned, I just need to take a break for a second and take a moment to breathe and remember there's always a way to adapt and keep moving forward.
Yes, it does. Like the little things, like taking breaks, and that it's so important. Like my favorite thing is to have a cup of tea. If it's in the day and I'm just not feeling it, or I just need that little bit of break, then I'll go make myself a cup of tea, have a few biscuits. Aston, if he's here, he will want to dunk his biscuits in my tea. And sometimes he does that with my coffee as well, which is obviously not good for a toddler, but that's his little thing as well. I think he was about a year old when he started doing that. Because he was always watching me doing it. Have my little tea breaks through the day with my little biscuit, and he'd see me dunking it in, and then he started having a biscuit, and then one day he just came over and dunked it in my tea, and I was like, "Woo, what are you doing?"
Cute.
But it's like just those little things. Even like if I'm not feeling it, sometimes I'll just sit and put on a TV show that I'm going through. At the moment, it's Sons of Anarchy, which is a bit
love
random.
it.
Yeah, it's just those little things that help boost you. Sometimes you just have to take that little break. I'm taking my son now to playgroup, which started a couple of weeks ago now, and there's a little grassy area where there's a little path that goes through to kind of cut across to the next road where we have to go down, and it's on the edges where you come in and where you go out, there's lavender bushes, and when it's not raining, it's just that little waft of smell I get from the lavender bush when I go past it. It's like, I really like that. It just gives you that little bit of a boost. I know it's not much, but it's just that little boost. It's finding the joy in the little things.
Yeah.
And that's what this podcast is all about, finding the joy in the little things that you have around you. And your journey will be full of wonder and, yes, ups and downs, but it's finding those little things that you can do. And a community also plays a vital role in maintaining a healthy mindset. I've been part of several groups that uplift and inspire me, like my local women in business group I attend in my hometown. which started back in February time this year. The lady who hosts it, Emma, she's amazing. I love her to bits. I only started speaking to her in December last year, and we both in this other group for female entrepreneurs in our local area, and it just wasn't cutting it for us. It just didn't feel suitable for our lifestyles at the time. We're both small business entrepreneurs. She has her own daughter. I have my son. She also had a job as well that she was working on, and there just wasn't a group locally to us that we felt actually suited us. So I encouraged her to set up her own. So I have a hand in that. She might not be super grateful these days because it's quite a lot of work for her. But it's been amazing for our local community of women in business, and it's just so helpful. And yes, they're not all creatives, but some of them are. And I'm meeting and making new connections with people all the time, and I've made some great friends by going. And I absolutely encourage anyone listening to find a community, whether that's online or offline. There's a couple of other communities I'm in. Obviously, Dolores' student community I'm in, and that's fabulous. I love seeing all the inspiration on there with student work, and it's like everybody's so helpful and lovely. And another community I'm in is the FEA, which is Carrie Green, who's the founder, is a significant influence since I read her book back in 2018. Her book, She Means Business. I found it in a London WH Smith shop in the train station there when I went to see Harry Potter Studios for my birthday back in 2018. And ever since reading that book, my life changed. That's what I'm going to say, because that's how my entrepreneurship journey started. It started not long after that. I'm gathering all my supplies for my little business I was going to do. So these connections have provided me with so much encouragement on tough days. I recall a moment when I felt completely overwhelmed, and just chatting with some fellow women in business and some other creatives helped me regain my perspective. And just speaking to Delores about my challenges on a day when I'm stressing a bit also helped me. Delores, how has your community supported you in your journey?
You know, I really love this question about community support. I was recently chatting with some friends in one of my groups about how much our communities mean to us. And for me, being part of a coaching program in a group has been a real great game changer. We all face similar challenges. We're all in different kinds of businesses. So it's interesting. It's not necessarily all artists, but we all face similar challenges in business. And just hearing someone share their struggles can be so comforting. And it reminds me that I'm not doing that alone. You know, that there are other people that are doing the same thing as I am. And the feedback and encouragement we give each other lifts us all up. It's amazing how a little support from others can help you keep going no matter what you're facing. And just knowing that there's somebody there that you could ask a question if you needed help. So I really believe that community is an incredible source of strength, definitely for me. And I appreciate every bit of it. I'm so thankful.
Thank you, Delores. That's what makes our partnership so great as well. And we both value the community and connection side. Finding supportive communities is invaluable. If you can't find one, consider building one. It can make a world of difference for you. Finally, let's talk about embracing failure. I remember when I let my Etsy shop listings expire, while I focused on another avenue for quick income after my maternity ended, came round far too quick. Initially, it felt like a massive failure. I had worked hard, really hard, to set up that shop with 135 listings of digital products and my designs on print on demand products, and seeing it slip away was so disheartening. But I knew at the time my focus needed to shift, and I can always come back to it later when I can invest more time to it. It's a reminder that sometimes we have to let go of one thing and make space for something greater. Not long after this, I met Delores. Without that pivot, we may never have met. I am truly grateful to have found Delores and our friendship. It just blossoms every time, and yes, we've had challenges. Yes, it's been stressful sometimes, but I've just found so much joy in the connection and the ideas we bounce off each other. And yes, sometimes we, both multi-passionate entrepreneurs, can overflow with ideas, and sometimes we need to rein each other in.
Yeah.
So, Delores, can you share a time when you faced a setback and how it influenced your journey?
Well, thanks for sharing that, first of all, Kaylee. And I can completely relate to your experience. Once this one always sticks in my mind, but I had a significant setback in my career when a project I was really passionate about didn't go as planned. And really the problem was that it was just not sustainable in a way that I could make money with while I was working full time. So I really get that whole thing of balancing a job and your passion and, just all the different things that you have to do in life. And at first, just like you, it felt like a real failure. And I was really hard on myself. When you set out to do something, you have such high hopes for it. I know for myself, when it didn't happen, it really felt like a punch in the gut. But over time, I did realize it was just part of my journey. And looking back now, I can't even think of why I thought it was such a big deal. I was eventually actually quite thankful that I had not continued on that particular project. And I started to view these moments, because this is not the first time it's happened. So I started to view these moments not as failures, but more like experiments and really great learning opportunities to help me grow. I think that's what's important. I really agree with you there, Kaylee. It's important that we adapt when things go wrong. And that particular setback pushed me to try new things, just like it did with you, and to explore different paths I might never have considered otherwise. So to anyone listening, I encourage you to embrace those setbacks. They're not the end of the road, not even close. They're just a little detour that can lead you to something even better. And just always remember, it's part of the journey.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I've had to pivot my business a few times over the years. Obviously, first with my candle business, and then we had COVID, and then my son came along, and then I had to really think, oh, well, product business isn't going to work. I'm going to have to think about something else. That's when I went into the Etsy shop, and then obviously that didn't pan out either, which is fine, because then I had to pivot again. And that's what helps, having resilience and determination, because I knew I wasn't going back to a job. That was not on the cards for me. That's not how I wanted to live my life. I'd been made redundant a few times in my life from different jobs, and that's scary, not having that control over your financial life.
Yeah.
And that's why pivoting is important. Don't stay stagnant. And that's a great part of being creative, is the innovation. Make all the changes should be embraced, because eventually you will find something that you hit the nail on the head with, and you can move forward with it. The key takeaway here is that failure isn't the end. It's often a stepping stone to greater success and a pursuit of your dreams. So to wrap up, building a sustainable creative business requires a strong mindset, a willingness to learn from failure and to pivot, and the support of a community.
Thanks so much for joining us today on the Creative Juggle Joy podcast.
If you found this episode helpful, we'd love it if you'd leave a review or share it with a friend who might need some encouragement on their creative journey. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep creating, keep juggling, and most importantly, keep finding joy in the process. Remember, there's joy in the journey, even on the craziest days.